Oh, man, that's just dadgum good. I don't care who you are. Let this get going here for a little bit and then talk about a few things. Some of the recent comments that we had about some future content and kind of some stuff that we got in store coming up. So, pull up a few things while we're waiting here. Hope everybody is doing all right. It's kind of work out as a test for some other stuff as well here. And I know it's not announced, but here we are. So, wanted to take just a little short opportunity to, man, wish everybody. I hope y'all had a great Christmas and a happy New Year. Hopefully, everybody didn't do anything dumb, and if you did, hopefully you're good enough to not get caught. And here we are. Happy New Year. So I dropped a video. I kind of took the last couple of weeks off, at least from this channel, to just spend time with family and enjoy some downtime. And on my other channel, I had some stuff that was already done up, so it was easy to keep that rolling. And it was kind of more of montage type stuff, anyways, and some compilations. And for this one, I do have some videos that are in the shoot that are coming up, but I always am definitely looking forward to anything that anybody has as far as whether it's board prep or current news or events or leader development. And if there's specific stuff to get tied into and start talking about, like, that's where 80-90% of all my videos come from on this channel, is from the comments that are left by y'all. And on this last one that I did, just a short video that was published, a couple days ago or whatever, that's kind of what that was all about. And I want to take an opportunity to address a few things here. And if there's something else that pops up, man, we'll do this. And I don't want to be on here too long, but let's see, where is it here? So, subscriber asked about TikTok regulations and the military. And that was her second question. The first question I'm definitely going to do a video on, which was, does a board actually prepare, or is a board appearance, is it really, can a board members tell somebody's potential to lead soldiers? Is basically what the question was. So the second question, though, about TikTok and the military. So, uh, the military and the army specifically doesn't tell us what social media accounts that we can and can't use. What they tell us to do is that if we use them and we are in uniform, that you're basically out in the public. So there's no difference in using a social media platform in uniform as opposed to walking around downtown in uniform. And so what you do and what you say is a direct representation of that uniform that you're wearing, because we are in a profession of arms. But there's nothing that says that you can't go walk around somewhere in uniform. The military will also tell us, if you do go out in town, there are certain things that should be avoided, whether it's engagement in a political event or a rally or a demonstration. Obviously, anything that is extremist in nature, we stay away from that stuff in uniform or out. But if you're going to go to a public event, there's nothing saying that you can't do that in uniform. And so the same is going to be true with a social media outlet, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. There are certain things when it comes to being monetized and doing things in uniform, because you're going to give the appearance that you're using your status as a means of garnering money, which is unethical. But just to mere post something on social media in uniform or not, like the army isn't really going to say one way or another. It's going to be the content of what you post and the content of the things that you say. I ran a TikTok channel for, or I don't think it's it's not called a channel, whatever a TikTok is, for a long time. And almost 99% of all of those clips or whatever are me in uniform. And I use that as an opportunity to find soldiers where they were at. Like I knew that my dudes were on TikTok. They were off cupcaking and lollipopping and playing Witches of Wonderland or whatever on their phones. And I knew that they were on TikTok. And I was like, man, what better place, what better way to find them where they were at? You know, it's crazy that I think that we should do things like that. Find people where they're at and present a message that can be heard and that people can resonate with. And so the TikTok did all right. I've kind of been off of it, just quite frankly. It's just it's all of it's too much for me, and God knows for anybody else to really be able to manage on a such a to be consistent, between for myself. And I'm sure we're all the same way. Like we all have families, we all have friends, we all have hobbies, and we all have things that we do. I don't play video games, but I do make content for YouTube, and I spend a lot of time out in the woods with my other channel and with my dog and with my family and my kids and everything else. And I try to read and study and be up to date on things that are important to me. And between Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and TikTok, just way too much to maintain consistently. Hey, brother, man, I hope that you are doing good, man. Always good to hear from you. That man's a man, the myth, the legend, right there. Put some of the dudes you'll see on TV and YouTube to shame. That's awesome to hear, man. I'm good to hear that. Am I coming in okay? That was a big question. Hey, brother, I is audio okay? I haven't done a live stream in a while, and when I've done some live streams, been a part of other people's live streams and podcasts, I've had some issues when it comes to connectivity and the audio specifically jumping in and out. So awesome, man. That's good to hear. Thank you so much for that feedback. It means a lot. So yeah. So TikTok, Army doesn't really care. Awesome, good to hear. Hey, brother. All right, good to hear. So one of the other questions, and again, man, is a couple more folks start to come in. If anything comes up, man, and whether it's a question specifically about this channel, maybe I should have changed the name of this one as opposed to just use my name, but because it kind of bleeds over into my other channel. But I specifically started using this channel in order to bring this type of content of leader development and things of this nature, specifically for the military, and to kind of separate it from. I don't know if I'm going to be here. More about that definitely coming up. I don't know if I'm going to be here in August. Um, yeah, it's gonna. So 2023 is gonna be a crazy year for me. So I'll be probably wearing civvies 24/7 probably by August. And so we're trying to figure out. Well, it'll be before that. Um, Got to figure out what that next stage in life is going to be. So it's going to be pretty exciting. Um, but yeah, kind of separating the content because it's just two different niches. And but now because Stoker and Stokermatic, I probably confuse more people than I've helped out. Let's see here. Small Farm 310. Love your videos. I'm glad that the content resonates with you. Prior service, gotcha. Yeah, man. You know, that was some hard lessons learned, being prior service. And I got really fortunate that my MEP station really helped me out getting a lot of my documentation correctly uploaded into iPerms. And, along the way, I was again fortunate with the platoon sergeants that I had and the S1 shops that I had to be able to not fight against, trying to get some stuff uploaded and updated. And that's not always the case. Sometimes it can be a hard battle to do, but the most important thing to do for you is to make sure, for you specifically and for anybody else who's prior service, is to make sure that your deems date is not going to change, right? That's the date that you initially came in, but your pay entry base date and your PBD and your BASD, those dates have to be right because that's what's going to impact. If you hang out to retire, that's what's going to impact your pension. So definitely make sure that you get those reviewed. And anytime that you go to PCS, like just like I did when I came up here to JBLM, and I go to in process at Waller Hall, like they specifically took some time to recalculate just to make sure everything was right and on point. So those are the two biggest things. Everything else, man, at the end of the day is what it is when it comes to schools and awards and all that stuff that can be on your SRB, but whatever's. But I'm glad that you have transitioned well, and I hope things are going good for you, brother. In the Corps, promotions to corporal and sergeant are nearly identical to how the Army promotes to sergeant and staff sergeant. So it's points based or merit based, and you do different things and you get points for those things. In the Corps, I don't know if they still do that, but we used to get pro and con marks, so proficiency and conduct marks, and these were ratings that your it was supposed to have been your squad leader or whatever who was recommending these up to the platoon sergeant to get put into the system, and it, it's similar problems in the Corps as far as perception. Folks getting promoted and getting high pro con marks and things of this nature. Is compared to some of the ways that we get points here in the Army. But it's just interesting to see those similarities and those differences between the two branches and the two services. And of course, in the to further that out, a centralized board in the Marine Corps starts at staff sergeant, and in the Army starts at sergeant first class. So I'm just kind of jib jabbing there, but I do have again, looking for content for 2023. I'm all down and open for, and I know that the time is going to come to this channel when my ability to be up to date and relevant on some things is going to come to an end as I do transition out. But obviously, things like leader development. I don't care if you're a civilian. I don't care if you're in the military. I don't care if you want to call it management. I don't care if you want to call it leadership. You can call it whatever the hell you want. Um, Ultimately, it's all the same thing. The same principles apply. Excuse me, and the same effects and impact of our actions and our values and our ethics are the same. Again, it doesn't matter if you're a green suitor or a blue suitor or white collar, blue collar. It doesn't stinking matter if it's a profit or not for profit. Like there is, as far as I can tell, the most important thing, is getting that why first and understanding our purpose for doing things, and then aligning our actions and our beliefs and our principles and our procedures and all those things and have them in line with what is that that thing that comes first. And it comes first no matter what. Like even if it's not at the forefront of our thinking and our mindset, that why and that reason comes first. So, you know, how do we finally join you? Like, oh man, awesome. Oh man, good to see you. Come online, man. It's not going to be long. Probably another, certainly no more than 12 minutes. So if y'all do have anything that we need to talk about here, definitely make sure that you leave a comment, and I'll make sure that I get you addressed. Otherwise, just wanted to again welcome everybody and wish y'all and hope that y'all had a Merry Christmas or whatever that you celebrate, and Happy New Year, and hope that 2023 ends up being a fantastic year for you. Certainly, a lot of changes coming in our lives and the Stoker family life between job and careers and all that kind of stuff. But it's nothing that nobody else has gone through or goes through. But it'll be a new adventure, and it certainly won't be the first time that I got out of the military. But this time I'm going to do a little bit gooder of a job and try to have some things planned out better than I did the first time. So the same thing again, with this channel of that why being up front, what we talk about ultimately isn't so much important as the why we're talking about things. And I think, through the mass barrage that we get hit with, of whether it's on the television media that's coming at us, or it could be local, because good Lord knows you see it there too. It's just not always as in your face, or whether it's national, or whether it's folks out there on YouTube, or other modes that present different things to us. Again, taking it back to this channel, like my why is creating an authentic community, people who are looking to, because myself is included in this, right? Trying to master our craft of being a good person first, and knowing that everything else follows from that. Like if I get myself right, I hate to take it back to the first principle of leadership, but it's true. Know yourself and seek self improvement. And if we actually do that, and we can find a way to communicate with others, we can find more often than not that there are folks out there, who probably desperately need to hear that kind of message, because of all the crap that's out there, and b, folks who can actually enrich and build us up as well. Oh man, thank you so much. Oh man, you know what's crazy about that, and I'm glad that, I'm glad I've had the opportunity for our paths to cross, man. And it's weird, when I drive through the gate, when I walk around the shop at or PX or whatever, I'll stop and talk to folks, who will say something similar, and I'm deeply humbled and grateful, to have those types of encounters. But it's like, man, you guys impact me incredibly. Like I was in Hawaii, stationed there from about 2010 to 2014, somewhere in that timeline, right? And I had, um, a neighbor slash friend's family came out for a holiday. He was in the manufacturing business, and, he was a plant manager somewhere. I can't remember exactly what he was involved in. And we were talking about, generational issues, and this was really, I guess, maybe where I began to refine some of my perceptions about people, especially about younger generations. And there are traces of it going back further for sure, especially the conversations with my dad back in the '90s. But this gentleman said something. He said, technology changes, but humanity remains the same. And that kind of left an impact on me as I really began to think about it and look at the people that were in my charge, through a little bit of a different lens. Um, Too many times I think, especially it's so evident in the military, when leaders had the tendency to try to make miniature versions of themselves, if that makes sense, right? Um, but when we stop trying to do that and we start to see the value in each individual person, yeah, you know what? Culture may change a little bit. The music that people may listen to is going to be different, and there's certainly, one would be foolish to say, that there isn't something that doesn't feel right now compared to earlier. But I think, in every encounter that I make, like I don't know where any of these craptastic people actually are. Like certainly I meet them, especially in my job wearing a diamond. Like I've kicked quite a few. I've helped get quite a few people escorted out. But there are so many folks out there who are hardworking, who want a better life for themselves. And I realize that nobody, generally speaking, nobody wants to fail. And when I approach my own leadership philosophy and my style, and I try to ingrain this into me, and with that realization that nobody wakes up in the morning and says, you know what, I wonder what the heck I can screw up today. I wonder if I can screw up my marriage today. I wonder if I can, you know, leave a negative impact on my kids that'll haunt them for the rest of their lives. Like nobody wakes up doing these things except for maybe the mentally deranged or whatever. But you know, as a leader, though, leaders, in my experience, again, especially in the military, we don't have that in our mindset. Certainly not at the forefront. That people are actually genuinely trying to do a good job and they're trying to get by. And yes, work sucks and people are going to punch the clock in, they're going to punch the clock out. Uh, and you have to decide, are you going to be okay with that? And if the answer to the question, to the question behind that question is the job getting done? Well, then are airplanes falling out of the sky? It was a saying I picked up, back in the early 2000s during my break-in service when I was a plant manager, and we started looking at issues that were non-conforming and some of the waste that we had in production. And some of it was worth addressing, and some of it was worth realizing that, you know what? A, we're not building airplanes here. There can be a little bit of extra tolerance for what we're doing. And B, even if we were, that plane's not going to fall out of the sky because of this one issue. And so if I'm only going to address it or fix it to build up my own ego and my own pride, then we got something wrong with us. So we'll always be human first. Good leaders work with it. No, absolutely, man. So future content for 2023. I actually, at some point in time, after I am actually, out, into transition leave and everything, there was a book. This is an old board question that most people don't know. And if you are in the service right now, and you can tell me what the blue book is, most of y'all probably know what the blue book is, whether or not you're in now or whether you're a veteran and you served in the past. And if you know the answer, I know that you know that the Blue Book was the writings that Prussian von Steuben wrote down on some drone ceremony and discipline, and even how to make a good camp stew, which most people don't realize. But old Baron von Steuben, he may have wrote the Blue Book, but there was another book that was carried around in the formations, and that was called the Black Book. And so the Black Book was the book that the first sergeant carried, and it was basically our modern day. If you're in the Corps, it'd be like your Alpha rosters. In the Army, we have our monthly reports or our triple alphas, and it lists, most famously the 162, which is every person who's assigned to that organization. And then it'll go on and list some different information about, yeah, well, brother, about, medical readiness and, there's different financial stuff we have to get in UCFR. And, a few years ago, I started to write a book. I is one of these one of my black books? Let's see. I may have one right here. So not that one. Oh yeah. The Black Book, again, the book that the first sergeant carried, that documented every person that was assigned to their organization. And so a couple years ago, this book right here, actually, I began with that alpha roster of, everybody who was assigned to my organization and everybody when they PCS'd and or got chaptered or whatever, or PCS'd and ETS and all that crap. But I also took the opportunity to write down all the stories because you can't make these stories up. Like the things that we do in the military, and and they happen out in the real world, but real world employers, civilian employers, they don't have to deal with the stuff that we have to deal with in the military, just based off of our profession. But you can't make these things up. Like what's in this book, you cannot make up. I mean, you could, but it'd be a TV show or a movie or something. But one of these days, these are going to come to life. And unfortunately or fortunately, like this book is filled, but I had to bleed over into another one. So it's gonna be pretty awesome to start telling some of these stories. Of course, I'll change names and dates and places and some of those details, but all that nitty gritty stuff, man, you can't make up. So that'll definitely be a point of presence here, uh, on the channel moving forward. Um, Current events and military news, is something I would like to discuss a little bit more on the channel. Whether it's is with a special emphasis on things that relate to the military. It's a little bit more of a challenge to do, other than this happened or that happened. As far as giving personal opinions, even though I don't post in uniform, like it's just things I try to avoid. While I'm in, is getting any kind of perception of bias or uh, being angry or anything else. And not that I think I'm a really middle of the road kind of guy when it comes to a lot of these things. And I've touched on a few events when they happen, but the channel not being devoted to news, right, wrong, or indifferent. The algorithm on YouTube is crazy. Like, uh, when you start, if you don't have a decent niche and stay within that thing, it can be difficult to get things moving in the right direction. So, but then leader development, right? So I could post a video on a board preparation, or looking at a regulation or something, and it'll resonate well, and not necessarily with subscribers, but with the algorithm and at large, and getting impressions, and this broader invitation of welcoming people into this conversation. But for leader development stuff, like those videos typically don't do well, and so I'm faced with a question, just like we're all faced with a question, like, at what point is the cost not worth it? So for me, that's pretty easy. Like, if one person other than myself is impacted, because again, I'm impacted through every engagement, every encounter, in a really positive way, then how many people need to watch something before you feel validated, and trying to keep your own ego in check, and understanding that you don't have to have videos that have tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions of views in order to be successful. Like, that's the machine trying to tell us that if you don't reach a certain threshold, that you're not successful. And I think the reality is so much different than that. I know people who don't post at all, who are way more successful at the things that I talk about on either channel. And even Stone Wolf Outdoors channel is super small, but that dude has so much knowledge and wisdom gained from experience, as well as just self discipline and self education, and then refined through experience of some pretty wild encounters. That channels like his should be huge. And I know some other dudes that are out there that are kind of the same boat, that smaller channels, and they just, for whatever reason, well, and I know the reason why. Like, nobody wants to hear it, but if you don't if you don't pay YouTube, or pay somebody to promote your stuff on YouTube, like, your channel's never going to have explosive growth. Um, but that's kind of how it is with anything, right? Like, if you're trying to start a business and you don't have investors, and you don't invest in it yourself, like, that business is may not ever take off, or it may just take off and kind of be, you know, at a lower threshold than what you were thinking of. So again, going back to redefining what defines success. If success is millions of dollars and everything else, like, I think we're fooling ourselves. But yeah, oh man, and I'm good. Yeah, and you should, man. You should keep it moving. And I try to check in as often as I can on some of your content, man. But it's a challenge for me to consume videos on YouTube. The only time I'm really able to do so is when I'm driving, um, just to have something playing in the background because I'll go through spats where I won't listen to music at all and just drive in silence and think. And I'll go through spats where I'll listen to some good some good rock and roll or some acoustic stuff, and I'll go through other spats where I'll listen to news or podcasts or anything. So, oh, let's see, we got a couple comments here. Thank you for everything that you do. Thank you, sir. Oh man, congratulations. First time go, that's awesome. 50-minute board, that's a long time. And it probably, for folks that go for a long time, is one of two reasons. One, because I'm trying to finish pulling the thread apart to have some fun to make a point, or it's because we're actually having some good conversations and it's good to see that potential that are in people. So that's outstanding. So I hope that you're able to get to school here in the very near future. And the way to do that is to get more points so that you're higher up on the OML, or try to do a walk on if you can. Um, man, and um, oh man, um, I hate reading names, but congrats on passing that board. And same thing for you as well. Being able to get ready to get to ALC. Ultimately, it's a matter of having enough points to be higher up on your OML in order to be able to get to school. And you could always contact, your school's at branch at HRC. You're going to have somebody who does nothing but slot people to go to school for your specific branch or MOS. And they won't tell you when you're going to go, but you could ask them, what is that point threshold, before you should really be up higher on that list to be able to go. And they should be able to tell you that. Did a video on Sharp during your Saturday barracks check. Yeah. Do not direct your soldiers, go. Yeah, man. Hey, and that's oh, awesome. ALC complete, man. Good job. So now it's just a matter of you know, getting everything else in line, and then getting ready for the next one, right? Getting your packet squared away for Sergeant First Class, and there's one more board that you could get to. Audie Murphy. Um, when it comes to not just pushing soldiers to go somewhere, but actually going and being a part of their life and walking with them, you know, I think we'll find that the folks who will send a soldier to the motor pool to go do something are the same ones that are going to send a soldier to go do something else. And there's going to be times when people have to work away from you as a leader, but why not go with your soldier to the motor pool to do that layout or to do that inspection or to do that maintenance or whatever it is, as opposed to just assuming that the ground pounder is the one that in the bottom of the barrel needs to do it. I think we need to have a more active role and be a participant in the lives and work and profession of our soldiers. Crazy things happen when leaders are present. You're going to find out as a leader, you're going to validate. It's kind of like doing a recon. Recon or reconnaissance. All it's supposed to ultimately do is validate your assumptions in your mission planning. Like, I have this plan that I want to, take this route to my objective, and I have these actions I'm going to take along the way. And so a reconnaissance is going to help validate that your planning was right and your assumptions were correct. Well, when we're present with those that work with us, we're also validating what our mind and our heart and our gut was saying about the status of the equipment, the personnel, and everything, is as well as validating to our subordinates, and this is way more important, validating to our subordinates who and what they have in a leader. Like, if you're not present, like, people are making decisions and they're making actions. If you're present, they're doing the same thing. But when you are present with them and these things are happening, like crazy things happen, like magic happens when you're present. Let's see. I was the only soldier going for this month as well. Awesome. Trying to go to BLC in February. Awesome. Yeah, that'd be great. Um, this has kind of been a weird few months with IPSE and the brownout happening, and there is no, like, the timeline for IPSE to come back online for our HR specialist was December 20th, and it is not online. Like, they can't go in and properly assign and slot and flag and unflag people, and it's going to be a hot mess. I think I hope that we'll see it come online for HR personnel sometime in January. And then once that thing goes live, like, I don't think enough of the Army is talking about IPSE to understand the, trying to watch my mouth here, the shit show that's going to happen. Um, it is such a dynamic change, and once it goes live and it's hot, like, people are going to lose their minds throughout the military, throughout the Army at least, because everything from, a soldier can't submit a DA-31 without errors as it is right now. Once this thing goes live and you have one way, and everything is bottom fed from that individual soldier who's trying to submit a pay inquiry or a 4187, for some sort of other action, or to take leave, or to recommend awards, or whatever it is. Like, this system, it's going to be so dogmatic in the way that it works, that, and it's bottom fed. Like, soldiers not going to be able to blame, and soldiers shouldn't be able to blame a section sergeant or squad leader or platoon sergeant or platoon leader for holding up a packet. Like, things should move a lot quicker, and I'm very hopeful that we're going to see some of those positive changes. But I think we're also going to see a lot of delays, things getting kicked back, and soldier having to learn systems, and we're all going to have to learn the system. But it's going to be crazy to see and to watch how it actually rolls out whenever it does roll out. Hopefully, it rolls out quicker than the ACFT did. But it is going to be really something else. Um, and I don't have a clear enough vision through that crystal ball to know or understand what it's going to look like. But I don't think it's going to be pretty. So I'm glad they're working through the bugs and trying to get some things fixed. But you need to, I think, online on YouTube, and maybe I should do a video about this, because again, it is absolutely crazy how different dynamic this is going to be. I'm pretty sure that HRC's YouTube channel has some IPSE tutorials for how to perform some different things, because nobody's going to care. They're going to say, you're an adult, go figure it out. Which is a true statement, but we need to start getting smart on this now before it rolls out. So, starting to get smart at the individual leader level, and then working on some training for those who are in your charge by those HR professionals is going to be absolutely money changing for you guys. That's an idea about a video to prepare for. Man, I'm just saying. If you look at my channel in my playlist, there's probably a playlist called Sam C. That might have a few videos for you. And every chapter, every club is going to be a little bit different. So getting a copy of that MOI for your installation is going to be critical. But a lot of things are going to be the same regardless of what chapter that you're looking at, whether you're overseas at Schofield, or here, or Fort Hood, or Benning or Stewart or anywhere else. Getting to know his bio verbatim. And my recommendation again, I'd have a few videos there, but we'll go out and watch the movie To Hell and Back before you really start getting in depth, and then start getting involved, with the local chapter and volunteering and going to their study groups. Really money changers, but getting a copy of that MOI, which should not change over the course of the year, and then plan on it being a 3-month process from the time you say, "Here I am, send me," to when your first board appearance is. I would plan on a solid 3 months to get ready. But if you look at the commonalities of senior leaders, senior enlisted leaders throughout the military, and there was, I'm gonna rephrase this question. There was a point in time when, if you looked at, you know, all of the CSMs and all the first sergeants throughout the military or throughout the army, and you found the threads that they had in common, um, you could try to piece together some things to look forward to and move forward. But we did such a bad job with the Audie Murphy Club, um, that we were using it as a way to. We were too hard, too strict, keeping people out. But there was a point in time when the vast majority were not only members, which the vast majority are members now, but what you don't see is that quite a few of those seniors were honorarily inducted, so they didn't go through the process of, as a buck sergeant or staff sergeant, uh, going through the and getting going through the meat grinder. Um, Now, it doesn't mean that they're not bad leaders, but there's something for those of us who've gone through that process that doesn't necessarily like honorarily inductees. Um, But definitely, I'll definitely try to work some more on some SAMC stuff because I do think that it's important. This one, 2 years, 8 months, completed ALC, rock and rolla, waiting for E6 board. Okay, yes, sir. Good stuff, man. And Telling Back is free, and his Audie Murphy's. And you can find it for free downloads, both the book and the movie. You can find all over the place for free, uh, just based off the age and copyright laws and things like that. When you read his book, which I would recommend anybody reading the book, his writing skills kind of suck, but you really it's a little bit it's so raw, to read the things that he's living and going through. And when you watch the movie and then to realize that he's playing himself, it's pretty jacked up. And of course, he had some severe PTSD that we didn't have language for, as most vets did coming back from World War II. But these dudes, they started a war, and the vast majority of them, finished those campaigns. Absolutely incredible. Service members, they want to have a long career. And so I think I'm going to take this one as the last question for this one because we've already gone on 43 minutes. And I do appreciate everybody who's come in and gone out. And again, hope that you all had a great Christmas and Happy New Year, and wish you all the best. So, what are some good recommendations for somebody who wants to have a long career? So, first thing to ask yourself, your question is, what do you want to be when you grow up? When you're sitting at that 20-year mark, um, are you going to be happy if you're a sergeant first class? Do you want to be a first sergeant? Do you want to be a master sergeant? Do you want to be a sergeant major? Um, and some of that may extend beyond that 20-year mark. But what is that end state for that you think now is going to have where you want to get to? Because if you just do the four basic things right, like you're going to be able to retire. But I think most people, and while most people would be happy, if the point in time came to retire, that they were a sergeant first class or something. Um, I think most of us would prefer to make it a little bit further. And I can't overemphasize how awesome being a first sergeant is. I've got 5 years wearing the diamond. Um, and if I could keep wearing the diamond for another 10 more, like that's with all the headache and all the crap that comes with it, like that's what I would do. That's just not how the army works. Um, but understand, get that end state, get more of an end state defined rather than having a long career, and then say, okay, now I know where I want to try to get to. And for most people who's trying to make this decision of what to do, they're probably it past the 4 years in, right? And so you're really talking, six 16 years down the road. Like it's not that far. Um, and say, what are the things that I need to try to do to get somewhere? So first, look at your MOS and understand how it feeds up to the top. Because let's say your goal was to be a command sergeant major. Well, depending on your MOS and your branch, there may not be enough room at the top to realistically assume. It'd be like saying, some little kid, in fourth grade who says, "I want to be president of the United States." Like that sounds well, that briefs well, um, and while it is attainable, the likelihood and probability of that happening is slim to nothing. Like get a more reasonable goal without squashing your dreams and your hopes and your aspirations. Get something that's reasonable or change, make some changes. And so MOS changes may be a requirement, but you have to identify these things early on in your career because you don't want to change your MOS as an NCO. Maybe you're already a sergeant and you have, a couple NCOERs, or maybe you're a staff sergeant, which I've seen people change their MOS as a staff sergeant, and that's crazy talk. Um, Depending on what your goals are, because you're starting fresh, and while a lot of the things that got you to where you were at will transpose into getting you where you want to go, there's a lot of things that you missed out on with your new MOS. So understand what those are. Some of the bigger MOSs, there's a lot bigger of a feeder. The trough is it's a lot bigger in order to handle more. And so that just drastically increases your probability of being able to get you to where you want to go. Understand that you need to get there. And I'm going to do a whole separate video on this because there are a lot of common things, with seniors. When you do go to an NCOES school, uh, while I would highly recommend you not to stab anybody in the back, or attempt to get to a place of honors through any sort of means of not having integrity or honor. If you get in there and keep your nose to the grindstone and graduate with honors, have a high GPA. You don't have to graduate, as an honor graduate or distinguished leadership award, but if you can graduate with the commandant's list in one or more NCOES, that's money. Get to schools that matter to what seniors are looking for promotion to the ranks of master sergeant and sergeant major. Get to EO. Get to SHARP. Master resilience. Master fitness trainer. When you're junior and more younger, man, become an ammo handler. Become a UPL. All those things matter, and you're not going to have to do them as an additional duty that long. Like maybe only until you PCS, and then you go on and take on a new additional duty. But all those schools matter. So trying to get to some of these schools, I'm not saying that any other school doesn't matter, but get to some of these, because here's the thing: like EOL and SHARP, MRT. At the end of the day, those are leadership courses. And when you graduate, the Army is telling you and that school is telling the Army that this person is trained and certified to treat people with dignity and respect. This person is trained and certified, right, to be able to do these different things. Um, and so I think you'll find that boards will look very favorably upon having some of these schools that are out there. Getting you can't do much about your assignment, because only when you PCS, and then only sometimes now with the new Ask um, program that's out there, like it's a hit or miss. Like my option really, but when I PCSed up here was before Ask, so my option was Fort Carson or JBLM. Like I couldn't go anywhere else in the Army. Like that was it. When I had to PCS to Kuwait, is because it was the only place in the Army that had a vacancy, which was a bunch of crap. But I had no regrets on going. But the point is, you can't control necessarily where you're assigned to, unless you volunteer for a few things. And going like SVAB is cool, but if you want a long career, and to serve in a leadership position, to have that green um, tab on, or epaulet on your sleeve, which we don't wear anymore. Getting into those kinds of things, and you got to come out. Go get some experience at SVAB and come out. But you can't stay in those communities long. Same with any of the other more specialized communities. You can't separate yourself, and you have to understand. Depending on your branch, there are probably a few places that you need to try to get to spend time around, because that's where the bulk of the seniors are, and to not look at it as a way of what can I get out of it, but look at it as a way of what can I get out of this type of mentorship and being around some different seniors. Competing for soldier and NCO of the year and having your soldiers do the same thing is huge. And so you start to piece all these things that all these leaders have in common. And I'll do another video that just walks through my own SRBs so that you can see, not that I'm special, or not that I'm anything great, but everything is attainable. Like if you just put your mind to it and you work hard, and you're going to get to the things that you're trying to get to. So there are a lot of things that are out there, and certainly I hope that kind of gives you a few things. Finish your school, get a certification. It doesn't even matter. Like if you're not an IT guy, get to a Security Plus class or a Net Plus class, which would be a little bit easier. And get some kind of a certification. Like not only is that promotion points, but if you can maintain that certification, that's just one more thing that separates you from your peers. Best warrior competitions, and SAMC, all those things are important. And and working towards your degrees and finishing them is going to become even more important in the future than it even is right now. So man, I said that was gonna be the last one. So this is um, to clarify. So a sergeant can go to EOL, and can go to MRT, but can't go to Sharp. Maybe sergeant promotables can. I'd have to look at it again, and those can be harder schools to get to, because sometimes seniors, at the battalion level, don't want to send people unless there's a need for it, like there's a vacancy. But again, for me, if it was up to Stoker, like every single leader in the military would go through all three of these schools, at some point in time in their career. So, and when it comes to things like Sharp, like especially if you are, I think Sergeant Promotables. Man, I don't want to lie to you, but let's just assume that it's not, and you got to be a staff sergeant, because I know at one point in time it was, and I know it's changed a little bit. If that's a school that you want to get to, the thing with it is there it's harder to forecast openings to the course, to those foundational courses, and the amount of time that it takes for your Novo credentials to come back, it's a lengthy process, and you have to have those credentials, and you have to maintain those credentials to keep working in that additional duty, or even to go do it full time. So using that as a leverage to say, hey, I know that we already have two, but soldier or NCOA is leaving in 8 months. Like, it's time now to start thinking about this. And then you start working through your interview process to get all the approvals and everything else. So, same thing with any other school. Like, it's all about having depth in all of those uh, specialties and things of that nature. So, man, team, I appreciate everybody who just now came on board and everybody who's been on board. It's been great to go live with you guys for a little bit of time, just under an hour, way longer than what I wanted to go. But definitely gave me some food for thought for some future videos as we continue to get these things going. So, um, yeah, I appreciate all you guys, man. Enjoy the rest of your holiday and get your asses back to work, man. We got maintenance to do. But seriously, man, until then, y'all, you stay out there, you keep grinding, and you stay stoked.